Hey, good afternoon. So if you're tuning in right now live, welcome. If you are getting this later in the day, welcome as well. But just wanted to give you an update on kind of where we're at in the conversation of coming back together and worshiping together. So I am certain that many of you, and probably in fact most of you, heard the governor's remarks yesterday about opening up to 25% capacity, all businesses and even churches and other things like that. So let me just take a moment and just talk with you kind of where we are in this process so that you have an idea, and genuinely so that you can be praying with us about what this looks like moving forward. So, for a company to open up at 25%, let's say a clothing company or even a movie theater or something like that, that's going to look a lot different than a church. There's so many moving parts for a church as it relates to volunteers, and particularly the larger the church, the more questions there are. We have 160,000 square feet just building-wise, so to make sure that it continues to be a safe place for the vulnerable, to continue to meet the standards and protocols that the state is still calling for as it relates to distancing and other things like that. This takes a little bit of time, which we've been talking about over the last 6 weeks. As you can imagine, we've had time to talk about it. We have been. But we are also want to make sure that when we reopen, that we have been really thoughtful and honoring our community that's here at the church, as well as our community here in Arlington. So this has been a conversation I've shared with our church. I'm on a call every single week with the mayor, the fire chief, and the city medical consultant, and so we're having these conversations about what it looks like, from a church perspective, what it looks like even from the community perspective. And, we want to recognize too that just because we can open up doesn't mean that we should open up. And so kind of here's where we're at right now as a staff and even as a church, is that we're continuing to gather information from our city leadership, and I'm really grateful that we have excellent city leadership here. They are not making declarations toward us. They are giving us good information, statistical data that's really important for us to weigh. And they're helping us with certain protocols and other things that are just healthy on a just consistent basis for us as we continue to think through what this looks like. Also meeting with pastors on that call, and meeting with pastors outside of those calls as we're talking about what does this look like just for the city of Arlington and the churches of Arlington to open up as well. One of the things we don't want to see happen is some of the shenanigans and silliness that have gone on with other pastors and other churches, because what one church does will reflect on all the churches in Arlington. So this is a larger conversation than just, hey, what does it do? And so we're praying, we're asking questions, we're continuing to gather data. We also don't want to open up too quickly. If there was a spike, and I'll come back and talk about that in a second, if there was a significant spike, based on the percentage of those who are getting COVID, there'd be a high possibility of the governor or other authorities saying, hey, you got to stop and back out. And so we don't want to do a start and then stop. We want there to be, a good distance. And I don't know what that distance is. Maybe that's a month, maybe that's a few weeks, maybe that's 2 months. I don't know. I do anticipate us getting back together, multiple services, sometime, during the summer, and either right before summer starts or as summer is getting started. I think there's a good possibility for that, and multiple services over time. What we're not going to be able to do is gather on campus with children's ministry or like in a Sunday morning format or small groups, just because of the social distancing protocols that are still in place. So I am encouraging you to meet with other folks based on those guidelines. Get with other people, whether that's in their homes, if that's in their cul-de-sacs, if that's in their front lawn. Spend time with people. Begin to re-engage. In fact, that's the healthiest thing for you to do from an emotional as well as from a medical perspective, is begin to rub shoulders with other people. Know this too. We're consulting with practitioners about what to do. We're not looking at what the media has to say. And I'd encourage you to think through that as well. The main number that, or one of the most significant numbers that we're looking at are the percentages of those who are being tested. What's the percentage of those who are positive for COVID-19? And that's a really important number, because you are going to see a spike. You're going to see a spike over the next week or two as people re-engage, and there's a number of reasons for that. Arlington is doing a tremendous job of testing people. We're testing people more than double the other cities around us, and that says a lot about our leadership. What you're also going to see is there's going to be a spike in cases as a result of that, just because we're testing more people. You're also going to see more people who've been quarantined over time, and as they're, when you're quarantined, oftentimes your immune system actually is weakened some. As they come back and re-engage, there's just going to be some natural sickness like you normally see when kids go back to school every August, September. They've been away from germs and bacteria and all that stuff, and every single start of the school year, you see kind of a spike in sickness. So you're going to see some of those things take place over the next few weeks. I'm not sure how authorities are going to deal with those different spikes. And so that's one of the reasons why we're continuing to be patient in this process. I'm asking that you would continue to be patient with us in this process, that you'd be very prayerful, thoughtful. We hope to have some more updates on a weekly basis. We are thinking through what that looks like as we ramp back up to begin to meet all of those distancing and cleanliness standards. We want to meet. We're ready to meet. We want to be very thoughtful about our entire community, and particularly those that may be more vulnerable than others. So for some of you that are just saying, man, I'm about COVID in the face, man, I'm with you on that. At the same time, let's make sure that we're very sensitive and loving and caring, and recognize that this is a real issue. This is a real disease. This is something that we want to be careful and responsible about as we continue to open up. And so I am incredibly excited about us having the opportunity to open up soon. I'm very thankful for the patience that you as a church have given our community and the government authorities, and even the staff here. And I would also say, God's done some amazing stuff in kind of reshaping some of the things that we would normally do. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to go back to normal. I want to go back to holy. I want to go back to what God ultimately wants for my family, for me personally, and for His church. And so, as we're praying, as we're asking questions, we are also, as a staff, seeking what does it look like for us to go back to what is holy more than what it means to go back to what is normal. And so in light of that, let me ask for your patience in this process with us. I love getting all the text messages and phone calls and emails. Hey, Pastor, when we're opening up, if you'll be patient with us, again, we're talking with key officials, practitioners, as well as other pastors, so that we are really wise as a church. We would hate for something, whether that comes from a liability perspective or sickness or something else, to happen within the churches of Arlington, and that to reflect poorly on Jesus. And so that's why, again, we can celebrate the fact that we can still worship the one true God, even in our current situation. And it is not best case, but we're going to get back to that. We're going to get back to that. And in the meantime, we still have access. As we talked about this past Sunday, as a priest, he has given us access to him unfiltered, which is an amazing, amazing thing. And so, and that's with the intent of us making sure that we're sharing this access with other people right now too. And this is a great time to do that. Hey, thank you for your faithfulness and your prayers and your patience in this process. All right, talk to you soon.